everybody to Tuesday Night Talks. Appreciate everybody tuning in with us this evening. My name is Matt Elkin. I'm here with Scott Martin. We're here from West Coast Elite Basketball and Attitude of Gratitude Consulting. This is week 12 of Tuesday Night Talks. Really excited for the response we've gotten so far, and really looking forward to our three coaches that we have this evening. Before we get involved with our first speaker of the night, I just wanted to really quickly share my screen to go over our upcoming schedule. So we have a couple camps coming up, two camps in August next month. One will be our All Academic Super Bowl, the 8th and 9th in Phoenix, and then we have our Chicago Showcase 10th through 11th. We're really excited about those two events. And then moving forward in September and November into the fall, we'll be having a couple more events on the West Coast. So if at all anybody's interested in attending these events or learning more information, please reach out to us, myself or Scotty, or you can go on the website allacademicbasketball.com, check them out. A lot of our speakers throughout the 12 weeks of Tuesday Night Talks have attended these camps, have coached these camps, have recruited players from these camps. And so if you guys have any interest in attending these, would love to have you there. So please feel free to reach out or check out the website. Also, you can find all of our previous talks on YouTube. So if you go onto YouTube and you search Tuesday Night Talks, you'll be able to find all previous weeks. And we'll have this week's episode as well uploaded sometime before Friday. But in the meantime, we are really excited to welcome our first speaker of the evening. Comes to us from Bates, John Furbush. Coach, welcome to Tuesday Night Talks.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we are really excited. Coach Furbush has been around on the West Coast, has come to work our events, and has done an amazing job recruiting. Is an amazing school, amazing basketball program. So excited to have you on with us tonight. And before we really dive into it, Coach, tell us a little bit of background kind of about you and kind of your coaching journey and kind of what brought you to Bates.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from South Portland, Maine, and I come from a rich family history of athletes and coaches. So I was really fortunate to land at a school like Bates as a student athlete. Had a little help from the basketball and baseball coaches getting into that school, which is something we can maybe talk about later on in this show. But I went to Bates. I played three sports. I played soccer, basketball, and baseball. Struggled a little bit balancing that with the academics at Bates. It was a little more challenging than I expected. But when I got to my senior year, I realized that we have a really good alumni network. So I was at a crossroads where, do I follow the family tradition of coaching, or do I take an investment banking job, which is going to be a lot more financially attractive? And so for my parents to really understand that all those checks they wrote to Bates, I was going to be a $5,000 assistant coach, I think was kind of comical, but it's what I wanted to do. So I was fortunate enough to stay on at Bates as an assistant basketball and baseball coach for 2 years, and then an opportunity opened up at Springfield College. Had a graduate associateship there under Coach Charlie Brock. And 1 year into that program, the job at Bates opened up, and just by virtue of luck and timing and whatever I said to that committee on the interview, they offered me the position at 25 years young, and I've been here 12 years. Now, I'll say a funny story about this is for a really brief moment, my family was super proud of this. You know, you got a young head coach in the family. I'm the oldest of three brothers. And the middle brother, within a year of that, got drafted by the Detroit Tigers. He was a baseball player, 6'6" lefty, who played a year at LSU after transferred to LSU from Division III, and then had a 6-year MLB career for the Seattle Mariners. So he's now retired, and now my job is to make sure that I have the belt when this is all said and done, that I had a more successful career than he did professionally.
Well, hopefully you're many years away from your own retirement. But when you took over at Bates, you were the youngest head coach in NCAA. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's amazing. Yeah. What was that like coming back to now coach at your alma mater?
It was a dream of mine. I remember when I left Bates as an assistant coach, the coach at the time had asked me, he said, where do you see yourself 10, 20, 30 years down the road? I said, I just want to put myself in a position whenever you leave or retire to get an opportunity for this job. And then a year later, he called me and I'm like, man, you didn't give me much time to get this resume loaded up. But, to be back here is such I'm so fortunate. It's a great institution. It's in a great conference. I get to work with people on a daily basis that are extremely driven, both the students and the faculty and staff. So it's a blessing to be doing what I do for a living. And you guys know, being involved in the game of basketball, how lucky are we?
Yeah, no, it's really special, and especially to be at not only your alma mater, but such an amazing school. Can you tell us a little bit, just, for people that might be unfamiliar with Bates, just what, from an academic and a scholastic standpoint, what is Bates all about?
Yeah. So we are in a conference called the NESCAC, which is often referred to as the Little Ivy or the Division III Ivy League. So, the students we get are from all over the country, all over the world. And that's where our recruiting has been. Have a handful of international students here on the roster. And so what I'll do, this might be a good segue, is to pull up a few key Bates facts.
Oh yeah, for sure, please.
That might make more sense to share. Let's do this here. All right. You guys see that okay?
Yeah, it's great.
All right. So as you can see, it's about a 2,000 student population here, 10-to-1 student faculty ratio. So the class sizes are extremely small. And as you get more focused within your major, they get even smaller. And by the end of it, you do a senior thesis or capstone project that is often one-on-one with a professor. And that can either be a full semester or a year-long course. So you really dive into your own research project, which I think is a unique part of our institution. We offer 36 majors, 25 minors. And I think the last thing I'll just mention here is that we have a unique academic calendar. We do what's called like a 4-4-1. So you take 4 classes in the fall semester, then you take 4 classes in the winter semester. But we start our winter semester a lot earlier than most schools do. So by the first or early in the second week of January, we're back on campus, and that semester ends in mid-April. And so you then have a week off for what we considered a spring break, which most people have in March, but ours is in April. And then when you come back, you take one intensive course for the month. So from late April to late May, you take one course. Some of them meet 3 days a week. Some of them meet 5 days a week. But I know a lot of schools do what's called Jan plans. So they do 4-1-4, whereas we're 4-4-1. And I think we're the only school, at least that we compete within the recruiting process, that has that academic calendar. So that's one of the unique things that we have going for us at Bates.
That's awesome. And, Bates being one of the top nationally ranked liberal arts schools in the country, and obviously getting a lot of great students in there. So it's a great school. Now, what about the basketball program? Tell us a little bit about the program that you've built up in your time so far at Bates.
Sure. I'll just mention this too, that the advantage with our calendar is that NESCAC conference play starts in January. And so our students come back and don't miss any of our home games. And as you can see in the background here, we have a really great environment. And I know a lot of NESCAC schools are not in session until late January. So their student bodies are not present for those games when you really need them there. So that's one of the unique things that we have at Bates from a basketball standpoint, is that we have a gym that was built in 1926. It just got upgraded the floor and bleachers 2 years ago. So we had, there had been some, Band-Aids put on the building, but most recently we redid the floor and the bleachers, and we seat about 700 people. We do not have varsity hockey, which is very unique in the Northeast.
Yeah.
So we don't ever compete with losing fans for, hockey games. We have a strong community in Lewiston, Auburn, where our school's located, where I do a lot of community outreach, clinics, camps. So a lot of families come to the game from the community. It's not just on the Bates campus. Everything is free. So all of our games are free of charge, which I think makes the gym even more packed for those moments. But in terms of what I've done since I got here, the program was in good shape when I took it over. And part of it was that I was a player and then assistant coach, so I had somewhat of an impact on that before I took over. And so, but I've always believed that Bates is a place that can have success. And we haven't historically been top of the NESCAC team, but some of the seasons we've had in the recent years have given a lot of hope for our athletic department that we can win NESCAC championships, we can win NCAA tournaments, and we had a really great season in 2015, advanced to the Sweet 16, and it just goes to show that with some hard work and some belief that you can be good, and obviously you have to have some DNA in your roster, anything's possible. But as you guys know, I think you've talked to a handful of other coaches in our league. It's not easy. You play 10 conference games, you get one shot at each team, and that one game, one loss can be the difference between second place and 10th place.
Yep.
So everything's very, very important.
And you guys, this past season, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys made it to the quarterfinal and you lost to Colby. Was it in triple overtime?
Yeah. That one stung, but they
went on to play in the championship game, and they played in another triple overtime game?
Yes.
Wow. So you guys are right there. Just like you said, you were right there neck and neck with these guys every game, every day.
Yeah. And that's it's ironic how what happened in both those games was almost identical. So in regulation, when we were at Colby in the quarterfinals, one of their seniors hit this 35-footer contested to send it to overtime.
Yeah.
And they basically hit two more buzzer-beating shots in overtime and double overtime, and it just was one of those not our days. But then when they played in the championship game at Tufts, a Tufts senior hit a shot from almost the same spot to send it to overtime, and it was just so the basketball gods were messing with us that day for sure. But yeah, we were right there. We're a few possessions away from being an NCAA tournament team, and I really felt that we were playing good at the right time. We were healthy. My young guys, I played a lot of young guys this year, got great experience, and I think where we were in February was right where we need to be moving forward.
That's what it's all about. Did you want to show some of the film that you had, Coach?
Yeah, why don't we show the rather than see the still frame in the background? Excuse me, I'll show you some live footage here.
Perfect, and we'll include the link that you sent over as well. So if anybody wants to watch it again.
Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah, we just put it in the chat box.
All right. Oh. Okay. Share screen.
Perfect.
All right. Little still frame of one of our studio art majors here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Putting it together here. Look at some video. All right. So here's we feel like the oldest young guy right now trying to navigate this.
Going right to left on your screen. Over to Greenhalgh. He'll drive all the way. Layup. Good score and the foul. Feldman pulls up and the shot gets blocked. Feldman hustles after it and run. What a hustle play. Also Renren from the elbow. Back iron. He'll pin the rebound. Coin ahead for Mortimer. In stride. Layup good. Bobcats lead 12-10. Feeds Mortimer right wing. Here's Spence. Out to Coin from deep. Turkey lock three. Tom Coin. Greenoff's looking for a cutter. Finds a cutting Sar. Layup good. Omar Sar. Mogan couldn't make the follow, but Gilmore now drives over Greenoff, and Sar blocks it. Another block for Omar Sar. Left wing for Coyne. Caught on him. Bates up by 1. 8:33 to go first half. Coyne on the drive. Coyne out to Gilpin right wing. Down low, Snoddy. Snoddy extra pass. Sar layup good. Greenoff on the move. Greenoff off the screen. Top the K. 3. Ring it up. Cody Greenoff time out. Hamilton. Bates by 4. 7:01 to go. First half. Greenoff down low. Sar the drive and the layup good. He's got 8. And the Bobcats lead 33-27. 6:52 to go first half. Dribbles to his left. Step back. 3. Cody Greenoff. Good. He's got 12. Coyne with Bates up by 7 behind the back dribble. Coyne rambling through the lane. On balance. They got it. Tom Coyne and the Bobcats lead 43-34. 3:50 to go first half. Spellman working on Kahn. Pulls up for 3. Ring it up. Oh, it's a big shot for Spellman. He's got 14. 58-45 Bobcats. Gilpin on the move. To Greenoff. He'll measure up a deep 3. NBA range. Knock it down. Cody Greenoff has 17. And the Bobcats lead 61-48. Coyne inbounds for Baxter. Bates by 9 with 13:42 to go. Coyne left wing. He'll fire a 3. Good. Tom Coyne. He's got 11. Now Coyne in the left wing. Coyne for 3. Yes. Oh, it rattles home. He's got 16, and the Bobcats lead 74-63. Right wing Gilpin. Here's Baxter in the left wing. Baxter. Drive, spins. Oh, he lays it in. What a take by Baxter. Mortimer dribbles to his left. Bounce pass, Sar. Layup. Good. Score it. And the foul. Sar with a chance at a 3-point play with 6:24 to go. Sar's got 12 points and 13 rebounds. Bates up by 12. Coyne on the drive.
All right. I can watch this all day, but that's not what it's about.
I love your announcer.
Oh my gosh, he is
Fired up.
He is he's really improved the atmosphere. The tricky part for me is I'm in tunnel vision when I'm coaching, but he's right at the scores table, and he is there's timeouts where I'm like, man, Aaron, like I need you to just tune it down a touch. But I'd rather have that than not. It's a really good thing for us.
Yeah, that looks like a game that you would watch on TV with the production quality and the announcing and everything. So that's pretty cool to get to see that, and for your players to get to have that experience, even though it may be a little distracting for you when you're in the timeouts.
Yeah, well, the other thing that is unique for them, I don't see it because I'm on the sidelines, but our scores table, it's new. So there's if a kid makes a shot and they're coming down, it'll actually show their like mug shot and some sort of correspondence on the screen. So there's a lot of times when I see them looking over at the scores table and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And then it just took me a few games to figure out, oh, you're looking at yourself on the screen.
Kids.
Yeah.
I'm gonna toss it over to Scott, who'll have a couple more questions for you, Coach.
Coach, appreciate you coming on tonight. The first question I had was, as being a former player, assistant, now head coach, how has your approach to recruiting changed over time, and how do you approach recruiting in this environment?
It's a great question. Recruiting over time is I'm much more efficient with who I target in the process, and I think some of that is that we've got a lot of help from like the Ivy League camps, the academic camps that you guys run. There's a lot of academically focused camps now that really helps schools like ours. I used to go to those massive events because that's all there was. And, you get involved with a couple hundred guys and then you get down to 25 that you can actually get into the school. Whereas now there aren't many sleeping giants anymore where, you're just going to find guys that can get into these schools at these academic camps. So that's one of the things that's changed. But I just think it's a grind. I mean, I like to get involved with as many guys as I can, because at the end of the day, I want the best players possible. But the reality is that, like right now, I'm on a solo mission. My assistant got a head job recently, and we're in a hiring freeze. So I'm remembering all the things I did to get to this point now, which is actually helping me recruit a little bit more. But I think the landscape has changed, and how we're recruiting in this environment. It's all film based, really, and I'm hitting up all the contacts that I have that I really trust in their evaluation, that have seen guys live. But I'm all film based, so I haven't sat down and watched this many highlight films behind a computer in a long time, and I will say I've never seen a bad highlight film. So I think full game footage for me is a little more valuable, because one of the things I put a premium on is what I like to call adversity management, and seeing how kids respond to not just like a turnover, but how they respond to success. And I think a lot of times people associate adversity with negativity. But I like to see how guys handle success. And so that's something that you can't really see on highlight film. So I'm relying a little bit more on AAU games and high school games.
What made you go to Bates in the first place when you were a player?
Well, the unique thing about Bates is that we've always been test optional.
Oh, there you
go. So that eliminated a few schools for me. Even though I had A's and B's, I was in an honors and AP curriculum. I didn't study a minute for the SATs. I rolled in Saturday morning, took the exam, thought I was smart. The number told me otherwise. So it took a few of the schools in our conference actually out of the equation for me, which I'm grateful for now, because Bates looks at the whole person. And I think if you're going to evaluate somebody on a 4-hour exam and not like a 4-year makeup of what they've done, I don't think it's a fair assessment. So by virtue of that got me sort of interested in Bates initially. But Bates is a place that anyone, if you visited the campus, the authenticity and the genuineness you see with all the people that are there is really hard to describe unless you actually come to the campus. I know that there are times when you look at schools like ours where, it's a high academic school, there's a huge endowment. You can often think, oh, this is a really stuffy environment. That is not the case here. And I think that I fell in love with the campus when I visited on day one. I didn't even meet any of the athletes. I just met some random people walking through the quad. And I just felt like this is a place I can call home.
No, that's awesome, especially when you feel at home and you've been there ever since.
Yeah, I took a 1-year hiatus to Springfield, but I've pretty much been here since.
Can you talk about being able to extend your playing career by playing in the NESCAC and schools like Bates? I know you had a couple of players that have played overseas.
Yeah, that's one of the draws I think for us is, and really at the Division III level, is that your opportunity to play right away is often greater at Division III than Division II or Division I. And so I spent a lot of time in the recruiting process asking players, what are your goals beyond college? Do you want to continue to play basketball? And if you do, we can certainly offer that opportunity. And if you don't get the opportunity, you have a Bates degree, right? So that's going to open a lot of doors for these guys. But yeah, I had these twins and that graduated in 2017, Marcus and Malcolm Delpeche. Unbelievable players. I mean, they changed the element of everything we did defensively. And obviously they, just rocked the rim like crazy, that, no one's ever seen in Lewiston, Maine before. So they definitely changed our dynamic. But because of that athleticism, and they're very high IQ players, they had scholarship offers, but they found the value in coming to Bates, playing for 4 years, even though they earned every minute they played. And they're still playing it now. I mean, they played in the TBT last summer with the Division III team, and
that's awesome.
They didn't look out of place. I mean, they were playing, Syracuse's team, and I was looking at Malcolm. I'm like, man, you're going up against a big dog here, but he held his own.
Can you talk about the admissions requirements for Bates when it comes to transcripts? And then also Bates is a top 50 value school and a top 25 small college. Can you talk about that what the tuition is and what kind of aid is offered also?
Sure. Well, let's just talk about the tuition first, just to get that out of the way. It's 70 plus. But in terms of we meet full need, there's no merit money, but we meet full need. So if you're admissible, you're going to get a package, based on what numbers you crunch in the FAFSA. I have never lost a recruit to financial aid in conference. That's pretty standard. So you can take that out of the equation when recruiting in league. In terms of GPA, I mean, C's are not good unless they're in AP courses, and you don't want to have more than one of those things on your transcripts. So that's good and bad, because I think there's a lot of players that early on in their high school career, if they're at a good prep school, they struggle with the transition, but as long as that trajectory is going in the right direction, there is a little bit of wiggle room. But I would say A's and B's in an honor and AP curriculum is what we're looking for.
Is there any value to the high school they go to, for like example, like a Harvard Westlake, when it comes to their class load?
Massive. So we have without getting in the nitty gritty too much, because we can talk about this for hours, but the curriculum within the school is very important. So, a public high school in Portland, Maine, compared to like a Harvard Westlake, is going to be dramatically different. So if you have, let's say, all B's at Harvard Westlake and all A's at Portland High School, Bates is going to want the B student at Harvard Westlake, because that's a place they're learning how to challenge themselves. They're learning how to struggle. They're learning how to handle adversity. So when they get to Bates, that transition is much smoother.
Oh, that's very interesting. Are you guys going to be back on campus in the fall? Are there any restrictions that the university's put in place due to the pandemic?
We are. We're going to be back in full campus. We're turning 3 of our buildings into testing centers, and the amount of work that our staff and faculty have done to get to this point is unbelievable. And we've done a survey with all the students, and it's been overwhelming how many people just want to be on the campus. So we're doing everything we can to make that happen, and everything looks great right now. So I think it's a twice a week test for all employees, staff, students, which is going to be a challenge. It's probably going to look a little clunky, but we're planning to be full campus this fall.
Oh, that's awesome.
Coach, can you talk about, we've had a couple schools and coaches from your league in the past, but just talk about the NESCAC in general. You mentioned some players going on to play overseas. When you're recruiting players, you mentioned you go to some of the Ivy League elite camps. I know one kid in particular, one of your seniors past year, Jeff Spellman, had a ton of Division I offers coming out of high school, and made his choices to go to Bates. And so talk about in the recruiting process, like the type of kid that you're looking for. What stands out to you? How do you know a kid is NESCAC versus Ivy League versus Patriot League? How does that process work for you?
I wish I could give you a very straight answer, but I think that's a tough one to answer. So what I look for, though, is I think every level recruits a level up. So I need to get Division II guys, D2 needs to get D1 guys, and D1 guys get pros. So I'm looking for, we gotta be involved with players that can be day one impact guys. So we're gonna get involved with three to five of those guys, knowing that none of them could end up here because they're gonna get scholarship offers. But there are a lot of players who are targeting, Ivy, Patriot, NESCAC, and the reality is, and I tell guys all the time at our elite camps, there's 11 NESCAC schools. Let's say they all take 4 kids in this recruiting year. So 44 players in the world are going to end up on a NESCAC roster next year. So we're super selective in what we're looking for. And the guys are going to end up in the Ivies, and they're going to end up at the Patriot League. But I think that we can sell the fact that, like the Del Pesh twins, like you can come play for 4 years. Obviously, you got to earn it. But do you want to have a career or have a potential career? And I think that's the difference between maybe our level and their level. Academically, it's a win-win for everybody. I mean, at the end of the day, basketball is going to end. What do you have to show for when this is all said and done? And that's one of the things we do look at is what are you trying to gain from your experience? What are you looking to do in life? Because we can sell an alumni network. I have a lot of direct connections because I went to school here, and that's a huge advantage for us in the process is knowing what these guys want to do beyond Bates, get them connected early, get them an internship, and make sure that by the time they're graduated, they're already signed a contract for a job.
Yeah, definitely. Jobs. Those, that's what it's all about. How can you take that degree, that experience to advance in your career and hopefully support your family one day. We got a couple more minutes, Coach. I just wanted to ask you, recently California announced that they're going to be pushing the start date back. I'm sure many high school federations across the country are going to be pushing their start date back. Kids have already been kind of sitting on their hands waiting for, when can we get back to playing high school ball or travel ball? What is some advice or one or two things that you would tell kids during this time in terms of how can they stay on your radar? How can they stay active and not kind of fall into that lull of just sitting back and getting complacent during these times?
Yeah, I think what they need to do is be super proactive with outreach. Email coaches, send them highlight films, send them workouts you're doing in your driveway. I mean, I think every little bit helps. I can tell you it won't hurt. And I think as coaches right now, we want to get involved so deeply in this recruiting process. And the only way we can right now is through these videos, these emails. So I think my advice would be, if you have a target of 10 plus schools, reach out to all of them, follow up weekly, because the reality is, my email inbox is crazy, but I want to see these guys because we need to fulfill a class here. So I would just say be proactive with your workouts. And from a mental health standpoint too, it's so easy to find negativity right now.
Sure.
Like, surround yourself with people that are go-getters and positive, and like try to pull positives from the situation at hand. And I know it's hard, but that's what we do as athletes and coaches is find the good in the situation and highlight that. And I'm not saying neglect the negativity, but don't be an energy vampire. It's so easy right now to just find the bad, and there's a lot of bad going on, but try to put a positive spin on it best you can.
Yeah, no, I think that's extremely positive way of thinking. And, like you said, I wish more people could find the positive side of the coin. But it's tough. Like you said, there's a lot going on. Well, we got about a minute or so left here, Coach. Is there anything that we didn't get a chance to touch on or anything that you wanted to bring up before we wrap things up with you for tonight?
No, I mean, I would just say I appreciate you guys putting this together. I think this is a great program that you guys are running for both coaches and athletes and parents and families of these athletes. And I would just say that, feel free to reach out to me as a resource, anyone that's watching, even if Bates is not a school you're considering. I know as a young parent, if I could fast forward 12 years when I'm going through this process with my kids, and don't have direct connections in the college coaching world, I think just having a resource to bounce an idea off somebody would be really helpful. And I'd be happy to be an ear and provide any sound advice for people that are trying to navigate the process, whether it's NESCAC, Ivy, Patriot, whatever.
Definitely. Yeah. And then if anybody does want to reach out to Coach Furbush, we have his email is in the chat box. We also included a link to the basketball information that he shared, a little bit of the film and stuff like that. So if you guys want to learn more or watch that film again, please feel free to do so. For anybody that's going to be attending our camps, our high academic camps in August, we'll be live streaming. So hopefully Coach Furbush will be tuned in. I'm sure he'll be, locked in after he's done watching his 50 highlight tapes in his email, and, maybe he'll have some spare time to tune in. But we really appreciate you, Coach, for being with us tonight, staying up late on the East Coast with us. And, whenever that time comes and we are able to get back in the gym, we know you'll be there, and we look forward to seeing you. But in the meantime, please stay safe, and thanks again for joining us tonight.
Awesome, guys. Likewise, I appreciate you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we'll talk soon. Take care, John.
Cool.
Well, you oversold this thing right from the start, man.
Scott is all about the hype machine. He loves the hype machine.
Right.
Getting Aurora on the map.
we are really, really excited to welcome Coach from Aurora, Matt Airy. Welcome to the show tonight, Coach. Appreciate you being with us.
Matt, I appreciate you guys having me, and I just want to say, both you guys, Scotty, Matt, and really all of you at West Coast Elite, this is such a positive thing that you guys are doing, and I want to just echo what Coach Furbush was saying there at the end. We're at a point where we got to move past being frustrated. It's time to go. It's time to figure this thing out, navigate it, find the positive, and make the most out of these times. It's unprecedented. The recruits that are or the high school players, recruits, current college players, all of you guys are navigating something that nobody in college basketball has ever faced before. So it's time. Like it's been a shock. It's been tough. It's been hard on everybody, but let's go. It's time to make this thing work and be creative and figuring ways to do that. And what you guys are doing is right up that alley. It's awesome. Thanks for doing it.
Of course, we appreciate you. And the reason why you're a Hall of Famer is because of what I see over there on your whiteboard. Tuesday night talks. Let's go with 50 O's and a bunch of exclamation marks.
I ran out of room. I need a bigger whiteboard. There's not enough O's to accommodate what you all do on Twitter. Like I need 100 and whatever, 258 characters or whatever it is, just all O's.
Well, yeah. we appreciate you, man, and we love your support. So for people that are on the call tonight, we have people from coast to coast, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. Tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what brought you to Aurora.
I'm getting ready to start my 17th year in college basketball. Year number 2 as a head coach here at Aurora. I played at Whitman, and it was at a time where nobody knew what Whitman was because we didn't do much when I was a player, but I learned a ton. And then I got a chance to be at the largest junior college in Washington State at Bellevue College. I know you guys have done some events up there, but I used to work for Jeremy Eggers, who's now the athletic director. He's just a phenomenal coach. He was my high school coach as well. And he really let me get my feet wet on, at the junior college level, you're doing, everything. And I got a chance to do that for 4 years. And then, breaking into Division III coaching, I got a gift because I got to go with Eric Bridgeland to Whitman in 2008. And that was definitely a passion project for me as an alum, but he's a master coach, a master builder when it comes to putting cultures together. And I got to be there with him from day one, and we really turned it around to where we had a pretty special run in the last couple of years that I get to be a part of. And then the opportunity came along to come out here to Aurora, boy, it's been it's going to sound funny given the circumstances, and we had a transition year last year adjusting, but it's been a dream, man. It's a great place, and every step of that journey for the 15 years prior has significantly impacted it in a positive way. So yeah, that's
awesome. And you guys had a ton of success at Whitman. So what was it about Aurora that brought you in? Besides just the opportunity to be a head coach, what is it about the school that you enjoy? And maybe give us some information about the school that players and parents might be interested to hear.
Well, I'll tell you that what made it go at Whitman were the relationships that we were able to build across campus and with our student athletes and with the alumni. And it was a place that was passionate about those relationships. And obviously you got to have talented players. But they also have to be dialed into that, especially if you're in Walla Walla, which is a small town. That's where Whitman's located, right? At Aurora, what I found that really stuck out to me was I really only knew one person that was here before I got here, who was an alum. I got to know him fairly well, and his passion for this place was really, really similar to Whitman. It's a place where we've been, the tradition at Aurora is awesome. James Lancaster's, the floor is named after Coach Lancaster. He still works in our administration. And they had 26 years in a row without a losing season. And so the tradition's always been good, but of late, they really, really wanted to try to get over the hump and try to make it a national level program. And a lot of places want to do that. But it takes the right kind of investment in terms of how you view athletics at the Division III level. Is it an activity or is it a supplement to the education? What's it like on campus? Is it about relationships or is everybody spread out and disconnected? And from my experience at Whitman with Coach Bridgeland and how to build it, the relationships have got to be there. They've got to care about it as an institution. They've got to see the value of it as a true co-curricular, meaning that it supplements the academic curriculum and there are life lessons to be taught that are added. by national level athletics competition, and that's Aurora. And we have it's a different, and we'll talk more about this, but it's a different profile of school. It serves a broader student base. It's a very blue collar place where the work matters in the classroom and in the gym. And so, boy, it was just a really, really good opportunity that was too hard to pass up.
And tell us a little bit about on the basketball court, what you guys have been able to do, bringing some of that momentum that you started, in your time at Whitman, and now kind of how you've implemented some of that into kind of the program that you've started to grow at Aurora.
Yeah, well, at Whitman, one of the things that was interesting, we kind of brought the West Coast flavor to a national level there, in that traditionally, especially in the Midwest and somewhat on the East Coast, I think, from a little bit I know, a lot of teams are playing in the half court. They throw it inside. They're big. They're strong. They're traditional. They're big guys. Look like they ate a raw steak before the game. They're really, really talented and really, really efficient executing teams. And from Coach Bridgen's prior experience, we kind of learned that you can play a different way and really kind of catch some of those teams as far as the talent level. Like in the Midwest, this is the mecca of Division III basketball when you talk about, national success. And that's not to downplay any other area, but, if you look at, generally speaking, the Midwest as a region in general, you'll find 21 national championships here. And I think the next is probably over on the East Coast, like the NESCAC.
Yep.
I think that's like 9 or 10. And don't quote me on those numbers, but it's somewhere in that measure. There are some unbelievably strong programs out here. So, Aurora is really uniquely positioned because we can recruit the Chicagoland area. We can recruit out west. We can recruit really all around the country because we're very, very accessible, both from a financial perspective and academically, and offering a broad range of majors and making it possible for students to be here. So, our angle is that we want to play fast. We want to get up and down. We want to disrupt. We'll be a little smaller. We'll be long, but probably not big and thick. We'll play 10, 11 guys and we'll run and gun. I'm from the West, man. like shoot first, ask questions later type of deal. The old West.
Yeah. No swing offense for you guys.
Yeah, well, and defensively, right? Disrupting
Sure.
people, getting up and down and going, listen, if you're going to play two bigs or a really big, powerful guy, he's going to have to chase us. And we may not be able to do a thing with him on the block. But he's going to have to run up and down. We're going to try to create more possessions, and we're going to go, you know what? We'll make it something of an open gym game. Not that loose in terms of discipline, but just players having the opportunity to be creative. We want to teach guys to play, not teach plays. We don't want guys looking over their shoulder at the bench on every single possession. We want to have the kind of bonds where guys trust each other and then can play and play together that way. And really that's how it was at Whitman. And I think we have the same kind of opportunity here. So it's pretty exciting. Definitely.
And can you real quick just tell us a little bit about the league that you guys play in? Just a quick aside, when I was an undergrad, I was at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I got to spend 2 years with Coach Meyer at Edgewood. So I'm familiar with the league personally, but for those people that might be from different parts of the country, tell us a little bit about the league and kind of what your competition is like in the Midwest.
Yeah, so we're in the Northern Athletics Collegiate Conference. We call it the NAC. It's essentially right now it's a conference of 6 schools here in Illinois and then 6 in Wisconsin up north. And so it's kind of a big L. So if you start, Aurora is probably the furthest west, about 40 minutes west of the city of Chicago. And then, the Illinois schools generally are going east to the Lake Michigan, and then you go up north, and that's where you find the Wisconsin schools kind of along that L, more or less. And so the league's been really good. We had 2 teams in the national tournament last year, probably could have had 3. Recently, one of the teams in our league went, to the national championship game, a few years back. And so it's a really strong league. And the reality is the competition we play out here, both within our conference and in our non-conference, is really good. I mean, we're seated right next to the CCIW, which is the Collegiate Conference of Illinois, Wisconsin, which is another league in the same area. Like I said, this is basketball mecca. We got schools all over the place. But that league is really competitive as well. I think you guys have had a couple folks from that league on or will, but we across and play each other in the preseason. We play each other in the NCAA tournament. And so pound for pound, if it's not the highest level of Division III basketball out here in the Midwest, it's dang close year in and year out. So you really get tested, and you really get a chance to play against some of the best, which is, I think for anybody that's competitive, that's a great challenge. That was actually, to be honest, that was another big draw to come out here, was to see how well we can do against some of these monsters.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about the rich culture of hoops in Southern California or on the East Coast, but the Midwest is, like you said, I mean, it's a gauntlet. Every game, every day, you're playing against big boys. You're playing against guys that like to run, guys that know how to play. It's the basketball out there is pretty serious. So you guys are right in the thick of it. I'm going to toss it over to Scott, who'll have a couple more questions for you, Coach.
Let's go.
Coach, thank you for being on. So obviously you're part of a big, remarkable run at Whitman. You guys were a recruiting powerhouse. What are some lessons you learned from recruiting at Whitman that you're putting in place at Aurora to make the same kind of turnaround?
It's everybody says it's about relationships, and it is. It's got to be about adding value. It's got to be about adding value to the recruiting process. When we talk to recruits and families, this should be a vehicle, and it should be a vehicle to get you where you want to go. It's not going to be right for everybody, and a Whitman wasn't right for everybody. But we try to find people that meet our fabric, what we're looking for in terms of their fabric. Obviously there's a talent level that's requisite, but like, what are they made of? What's their substance? What cloth are they cut from? Is it like us, or who we aspire to be? And then along the way, how do we add value to that process? Because it's not about talking someone into it. It's not about convincing somebody to be here or pestering them till they finally say, okay, fine. Like, that's not the deal, man. It's got to be about what's right for each player, each family. And so we do our best to add value to that process, to where, even if they choose somewhere else, they feel like, one, they have a genuine relationship here, and two, they've gained something from interacting with our staff, and from kind of going along the journey with us, even if we don't end up being their final destination. And so, obviously, like Coach just said, earlier, like, you go after, you shoot for the moon, and there's plenty of no's along the way, but for us, when we do get the yeses, when we've added that value, there's such a level of trust right away that we can kind of get to work from the get-go. And rather than spending a year kind of building that trust, we've already got a pretty good base, and we want to get started from there, because the journey, as soon as a guy commits to AU and wants to be a Spartan, that's when the journey begins, and we want to have the groundwork laid for that through the process. And that was exactly what happened at Whitman, and the results kind of speak for themselves.
I mean, you have a couple big recruits coming in already for the class coming up, and I know you're on your second year. What is your plan for the program going to your second, third, and fourth year? Is there any goals you're setting?
I'm the first new head coach in terms of being outside of the coaching tree at Aurora in 40 years. Okay, so when I came in, that was jarring for everybody, and by no fault of theirs, but I'm doing things differently, and it's the first time things have been done differently, or a different thought process, or a different approach in a long time, because it's been kind of passed down as happens in successful programs. And so we worked really hard over the course of the season. We played really well down the stretch, but we worked really hard to try to establish a culture and to really show guys where they fit within that. And we really accomplished some of that with this year's group. And I gotta hand it to our guys, to the seniors that graduated, and the guys that fought through some adversity this year. We really laid some great groundwork. So this next year with the class coming in, we're really excited about it. We love the fabric and talent level of the guys that we've got coming in, including our guys from Southern Cal and from the West Coast. And so it's about building on that. And we need to do our best to pick up where we left off and then continue building on it. As I mentioned, our philosophy, my philosophy is we want to teach guys to play and not teach them plays. And so it needs to be theirs. But if you're going to own it, if you're going to own the entire program as student athletes and as players, there's a lot of groundwork that has to get done, to make that a reality. And that doesn't happen overnight. And so this group coming in is really, really oriented that way, I'd say. And so we're really excited because I think we can take another step this year. And then every year it's about continuing to build that and ingrain it, and then just have it, the program needs to belong to the players. If we're doing it right, we're guides, but we're not, and we'll bring discipline as necessary, obviously, but the best programs are player-led, player-policed, player-owned, and the journeys belong to them. And that's where the value is. They earn those journeys, and that's where it adds to the education. So that's what we're aspiring to. And we took a nice step at the end of this year, and I think we got a chance to keep taking steps the next couple of years.
I know we've talked about this, but can you talk about the value when it comes to the financial aspect of Aurora?
Yeah. That was actually one of the things that was really interesting to me out here. Private higher education has really, a lot of families and a lot of coaches I know, battle this, but it's gotten expensive. I mean, when I was at Whitman, the tuition was very much similar to Bates, and what a coach said, earlier. And that's really, really typical. I mean, that's not expensive for that profile of school. That's really more kind of where it's at, right? And then you work backwards from there. Aurora's got a different model. And what I would say, if there are two ends of the spectrum, and then there's obviously room in between, but there's two ends of the spectrum. There are schools that evaluate and provide financial aid on a need basis. And then there are schools that provide financial aid on a merit basis. And then there's some that are in between. Mm. And so a lot of the really expensive schools are need-based. And so if you have, let's say your family on paper can afford $40,000 and you cost $70,000, they're going to give you $30,000. That's great. Aurora is all the way on the other side of the spectrum for the most part in terms of being merit-based. Because of that, the starting price at the school is significantly lower. So we're typically, I think our total cost is about $35,000, $36,000 with room and board room and board on campus, which is optional. That's about $11,000 by itself. So our tuition is about $25,000. I think $25,000 and some change. And so we work backwards from there with financial aid as well. And so even families that can maybe afford $40,000, let's say, because we're merit-based, if you got good grades, well, we can still cut in even to that $25,000 tuition, and you can end up actually with a lower ticket. At the same time, if you don't have any, or if you have a ton of financial need, sometimes that it comes into where we can get help from the government, from the state of Illinois for players that are out here. And then we have some additional funds to supplement some of that. So we also can make it affordable for kids that are, coming from like a Pell Grant situation, right? So I would say that the way that it works is that I think Aurora has got to be one of, if not the most accessible private school in the country, because everybody pays something. I'm not saying we always have the lowest cost. There are some places where, bang, you may get, $60,000 or whatever, and not have to take any loans out, and bingo. That's phenomenal. That's an awesome thing. We're not going to necessarily be on that low, but we're going to be somewhere that's really affordable. I've not yet seen a recruit that's come through, and granted, it's only been about a year and a half, but I've not yet seen anybody come through that couldn't afford it because of where we start with our price point. They really want families to have access to the education, and then they want to reward academics. And so they're less caught up in academic ranking, average GPA, average test score, and more, okay, if it's about admissibility, can you do the work? And then if you're a better student, let's reward that.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in this day and age. I mean, I went to a private college. I mean, it's quite expensive really quickly.
Aurora is $2,000 all in cheaper than what Whitman was when I was a student there 20 years ago.
Wow. That's huge.
And that's not a knock on Whitman, please. I just, it's a totally different approach, right? And that's not going to be right for everybody because the academics are a little bit different approach too. But I thought it was a place that really had opportunity for a lot of families.
What about the focus on job placement? I know that was something we talked about the other day also.
Yeah, so 70% of our students get a paid internship or job before they finish their undergraduate career here at Aurora. And so the institution's really, really focused on that. And like I mentioned, they're not as much focused on average test score and how that looks externally. What they're focused on is, are our graduates moving on to the jobs that they want? Are they being employed? Do they have upward mobility? and are they getting in, or are they getting into the graduate program that they want to do? Either here at Aurora, we've got some great graduate programs, or elsewhere. And so, you know, I've been in, we're under student services here at Aurora, athletics is, and I've been to maybe half a dozen division meetings, you know, since I got here. And every single time there's really a vibrant discussion about the new ideas that we want to try to make sure that we're helping our students get internships and get jobs and really reach out to them. And if they're not getting back to us, how do we, you know, how do we lasso them and bring them into their, their career counselor to go, hey, listen, let's, you know, there's an internship for you. And, you know, we've got student athletes that have been in the business program that have had phenomenal internships, sports management, where, you know, they Chicago Bulls take them downtown to a game and they get to network there. And so they're really focused, just the institution is really focused on those connections. And then we as a program, you know, winning, one of the other things I learned from Coach Bridgeland at Whitman, and that really, really rang through, with all the winning that we did, especially late, we didn't talk about winning. Winning is a byproduct of what we were trying to do. And so our job, my job, is to help our guys get where they want to go, where they aspire to be, whether that's to play professionally, or that's to be in business, or that's to be in medicine or law school or wherever. If you're really focused on that genuinely, and you're working towards that, and you've got guys that are into those kinds of relationships and being driven in that way, on the floor, off the floor, and they have the talent, it's amazing what the byproduct is. And so we also really work hard as a staff to try to set guys up, in addition to what the school does, which they do a phenomenal job as well.
How's the alumni support?
Awesome. Aurora loves athletics.
That's huge. That helps.
The president routinely refers to herself as a Spartan, which I've never seen before. I've never seen a president that was so excited about being the athletics mascot, but she's that engaged. She wants us to be successful. And that trickles down. I mean, the faculty are incredibly supportive, so the students are incredibly supportive. We have 24 athletics programs in our department. We might be the only school in the country that's adding a sport. We just added wrestling in the middle of the pandemic. We have football. We got a former NFL Super Bowl champion who's our football coach, Don Beebe. You know, and so everybody loves athletics for the right reasons. And so the support at games, the support around the community is phenomenal, but the alumni are really dialed in. And so we also, you know, try to make time for our alumni that we're connected to come in and speak to the team, to connect guys and network them with alumni, because people really, really follow it and are really, really supportive.
And the big talk right now everywhere is the fall. What's happening in the fall at Aurora?
Students will be on campus at Aurora in the fall. We may have a virtual learning component, but if we do, they'll still be on campus. There'll be students housed on campus. The school has done a phenomenal job of preparing the campus for that, and really preparing to be able to go back, hopefully at some point, if not during the semester, maybe at the break, depending on how the numbers look, but going back to in-person classes. So, you know, whether that's having the testing capability, which we have, we've got, you know, if student athletes have to isolate, we've got hotels contracted in town here, right down the street, where they can do that if need be, or quarantine. And we're preparing to do the tests we need to do. But it looks as if we're going to be on campus. We're going to have an athletic component. You know, I think we're all going to see here very shortly what happens to the basketball season and the basketball calendar in Division III, because I think everybody's probably going to move in a singular direction. But you know, as long as it's safe, I think we're going to have basketball at Aurora. We're going to have athletics at Aurora, and the school has been working really hard and really diligently to prepare the best, safest way to provide that.
That's exciting, because with the California calendar, we won't have high school basketball for a year since this thing started. So we're ready to get back on the court. My last question for you: can you talk about the Together We Can program that you were a part of, and if you're bringing that to your new location?
Absolutely. That was actually Together We Can was something that, in fact, Coach Bridgeland did at the University of Puget Sound. Coach Shelton could tell you about that too. His days playing for Coach Bridgeland, because he played for Coach Bridgeland at Puget Sound when he started doing it
all
over there.
tied together.
There we go.
Yeah. Pretend you didn't do that on purpose. But you know, it was something that we really got going at Whitman, and I think where it changed there was that we eventually started offering camp for free. And we did that by partnering with local businesses that would sponsor the camp and have some signage and some sponsorship, during our games and in our gym. But it really gave a lot of children from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds a chance to attend camp. And the camp's all leadership focused. We teach basketball. We're detailed about how we teach. But the idea is that, listen, at camp, you're going to have some kids that really want to play, and you're going to have some kids that really like to play, and maybe not both. And so we wanted to make sure that we're rewarding life lessons and leadership lessons on an adjusted version of what we really do with our players. And so that really took off. It was really, really cool. We had hundreds of kids coming in the gym, able to come for free. We didn't turn anybody down who wanted to come for free. And our community really embraced it. We were dialed up to do something similar here this summer in Aurora, and it just didn't. We just couldn't do it because of COVID. But the plan is absolutely to do that. I think it's a phenomenal way for the university to tighten its relationship with the community. We already have a great relationship with the city of Aurora and the community around us, but it's a way for us to give back. Helps us with a little bit of fundraising, but really it's more about giving back and trying to provide life lessons to through basketball to kids that maybe they don't get that many positive experiences. At Whitman, we partnered with a local, basically a big brother, big sister group, and we'll be doing the same thing here.
Awesome.
That's great.
Good stuff.
Coach, we got a few more minutes. I wanted to ask you one question. I was looking over on the website and on your roster and your staff, and Coach Jones, who's one of your assistant coaches, he was actually at CUC when I was at student assistant at Edgewood. And can you just talk, you've talked a lot about Coach Bridgeland and what that relationship was like for you. What is it like to have somebody with head coaching experience and a vast array of experience prior to that on your coaching staff, and what does that provide for your players?
Yeah, Coach Jones is just a gift. He's a gift to our program. He's a gift to the university. Not only was he at CUC and very successful there, but he was also a head coach in the old CBA for 5 years and won a CBA championship. He was an assistant coach, won a national championship at Triton Junior College here in Illinois. So not only does he know winning at the top level, but I don't know if you guys know Adrian Griffin, who's the top assistant coach for the Toronto Raptors. But he and Adrian Griffin have a bond, among other players, have a bond because of their experience when Adrian played for Coach Jones in the CBA out in Connecticut, and that has everything to do with his investment in a young Adrian Griffin, and that's he'll credit Coach Jones with having helped him reach the NBA and have an NBA coaching career. And so, from what we talked about where the values of the program are, you couldn't ask for someone that's more dialed into that to be an assistant, a journeyman coach who can help keep me glued to my seat sometimes when I need to be. If there's a foul that became invisible, he's very good at helped me with that, but you also, one of the things that's phenomenal about having a staff like a coach like Coach Jones is that you don't get yes men. I mean, Coach Jones will tell me what he thinks. He's still a great soldier. He rolls with it, but he tells me that he tells the truth. From a place of love, and he does the same with our players, and it adds so much value to what we're doing and so much authenticity. He's just a gift, and I'm just hoping that if Adrian Griffin becomes the head coach of the Raptors, that he has to scoop him away from me because he's a star. Yeah.
And I can only imagine what that must have been like for you transitioning to the league. And he had already, had a variety of experiences in that league, recruiting and competing. Yeah. So, that probably helped in that transition tremendously.
I can't even name all the ways that's what you just said is true. I mean, too many. We don't have that much time, but he was phenomenal.
With the last kind of minute or so that we have here, is there anything that we didn't get to talk about that you wanted to touch on before we kind of close things up for the evening with you?
What I would tell you is, and really, as I mentioned, the recruiting process is all about adding value, and you guys are doing a great job of that by just doing the talks. But what I would say, and what we talk a lot about, is trying to give families and recruits a framework to start figuring this stuff out, especially right now when it's hard to get on campus and the recruiting process is changing so rapidly day to day. What I like to tell guys is it's really beneficial if you think about trying to find the right school is like trying to find the right car. Okay, so it's real easy to get wrapped up in a paint job and rims and leather interior, but if you don't have an engine, that car's not going anywhere, right? And so a lot of times, I would say that you can compare that to facilities or sunshine, weather, or media hype. That stuff's nice, but you can find a lot of guys that go to places where all that's great and are miserable because it doesn't have the right engine for them. So when I talk about that, focus on the engine, right? Focus on what drives the program. What's the culture like? What are the relationships with the coaches like? What's the team like? What are the dynamic with the players? Even if you have to figure that out over the phone in today's times, find that stuff out because it makes a huge difference, And if you want to go all the way down the line, you go, okay, like the paint job and the rims and all that, and then the suspension and the wheels, what the car rides on, right? What's the style of play like? Do they have your major, right? What's the level? Maybe the level's a big deal that way. But really think about the things that matter and are of substance, and they're almost never how nice the facilities are. And we got great facilities, but it's almost never how nice facilities are. It's almost never how much media coverage you get. It's almost never, how bright the lights are. It's almost always the people. And so I would encourage, be stubborn about that. For high school kids right now trying to figure out and navigate this, be stubborn about that. Find out about the things that matter to you, because that's going to determine whether you're happy and whether that vehicle is going to take you where you want to go.
Wow, that's so important, Coach. And like Scott mentioned before, we were joking in the beginning that you're a Hall of Famer, but that the engine that you guys have over there, and just the type of person that you are, the type of coach that you are, and really we're not just saying that because you come to all of our stuff, but you've been awesome, great person to work with, and again, you're building a great culture there. You've come from a culture of success, and we fully expect that you'll continue that success at Aurora. And we really appreciate you joining us tonight, and hopefully get a chance to see you back in the gym very soon.
I appreciate that, guys. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for all you do for so many kids. The only thing I would say is you need to raise your standards for the Hall of Fame. Come on. No, in all seriousness, I really appreciate you guys. Appreciate what you do. Appreciate your investment in young men and your guidance, especially at a time like this. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Of course. Awesome. Thanks, Matt. We appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Coach.
How's it going, guys?
Doing well. I like the office setup.
Oh, this is my sports room. This is at home.
This is sweet.
Oh, nice.
This is awesome. Love it. Well,
it's all my wife. She's the one that put it all together. So
okay, perfect. We'll give her a shout out. Our third and final speaker of the evening, from Puget Sound, Coach Aubrey Shelton. Appreciate you being with us.
Yeah, glad to be on. Really appreciate you guys doing this.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thanks for being here. And we have a lot of people on the West Coast, but we also got people in the Midwest, East Coast. So for people that might be unfamiliar with you and your background, give us a little bit kind of what led you to UPS.
Sure. So I grew up here in Tacoma, Washington, went to Lincoln High School, and my senior year was fortunate enough to be on a state championship team. And then I was recruited by Joe Calero, recently at Cal Poly.
Yep.
But he was at Puget Sound back then, and he convinced me to come to Puget Sound because we're going to win a national title. And so I committed, and within 2 weeks he was gone. He was at Seattle U. But then I was very lucky. Coach Eric Bridgeland came in, and you guys set this up perfectly with Coach Eric right before. So I played 4 years for Bridge, and senior year we won conference, made the Sweet 16. Lost both those years to UW Stevens Point, who won the national title. So they're the only team that knocked us off, you can say. And then I majored in history, and then I was getting my master's in teaching, was a grad assistant. That next year we made the Elite Eight that year. And then from there, I was really fortunate, and partly because of the Puget Sound connections, I was able to get a head coaching job at a high school right away. I was like 22, 23. And then I was a high school history teacher and, social studies and basketball coach for 12 years. 11 of those were at my alma mater, Lincoln High School, here in Tacoma. And we had a lot of success there. And then just a couple years ago, Puget Sound opened up, and it was a dream job. And what I tell a lot of my recruits is, we're talking about the connections with the faculty is, one, I had a lot of people around the Tacoma community that knew me and, were putting in good words, but I had 3 different professors put in letters of recommendation for me just to help get my foot in the door. So that kind of, those relationships 12 years later, we're still there. So yeah, I'm going on year 3 now at Puget Sound. So yeah, my life has kind of come full circle twice, going back to Lincoln, my former high school, and now back at Puget Sound. And so yeah, it's a blessing, and I, not too many people get that opportunity, and I feel like nobody's gonna love Tacoma and this university as much as I do. So happy to be here.
You're very modest about your success in high school, Coach. I have to mention that you were the 8-time Coach of the Year. Is that right?
Yeah, we had a lot of good players, right?
That is unbelievable, Coach. That's unbelievable. Obviously, a credit to the players, spoken like a true coach, but had a ton of success. So what initially brought you to want to coach at the college level?
I was, when I got started in high school, that was, dream job. I'm going to be there forever. And honestly, if I didn't get the head job here, I'd still be happy where I was at. But I will say that the last few years, being at the high school ranks, it crossed your mind, like, could I do this in college? And the big appeal is being able to be a full-time coach. Because as much as I love teaching and history and all that stuff, like basketball is my true passion. And so the idea that I could be a full-time head coach and just focus on basketball and then come back to my alma mater, that was too good of a challenge, too good of an opportunity to pass up. And I tell you what, like I've learned so much as a coach these last 2 years. If I was to go back to high school now, I think I'd be a much better coach. But yeah, it's been really, really fun so far.
Talk a little bit about what are some of the characteristics of Puget Sound that attracted you there when you were looking at schools, and what are some things that tend to attract, or things that you typically talk about in the recruiting process to attract kids now?
Absolutely. Hey, the high school teacher and me, I put together a PowerPoint. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Here we go. Am I able to? Where's the share screen button?
You're not gonna grade us on anything, will you?
Nah.
All right, good.
Here's my share screen. All right, you guys see that?
Perfect. Yeah.
Right. Okay. There we go.
Love it.
All
awesome.
right. So yeah, here we go. So I just want to give a little visual. Puget Sound, like we're literally where you see the axe there. That's the Puget Sound. 30 minutes south of Seattle, and we were just. Some publication said we were the #1 best kept secret in the country.
Wow.
It is crazy. There are even people in Tacoma that don't know about us. But it's a beautiful place. The Pacific Northwest is beautiful. Seattle, Tacoma is beautiful. And just last year, we were the hottest housing market in the country. There's a lot of people that want to live here for good reason. And location-wise, we are in the nicest neighborhood in Tacoma. It's a residential neighborhood, 3 minutes from the waterfront. So it's a great place to be. Yeah, so again, just on the back of that, again, a lot of people are drawn here from 80% of our students are from out of state. And there's lots of nature and, mountains and, and lakes and things to do. So that's a big attraction as well. And we were one of the top 50 best college towns in the United States. And one unique thing about us, it's a small city, Tacoma. So, some schools in our conference are out kind of in the middle of nowhere, and some are in, like a big city. But we're kind of the best of both worlds. You know, it's a small enough city where we're the only university in town with athletics. And we've been around since 1888. So there's a long history and a lot of community support there. And that's pretty nice. But if you need the big city, Seattle's not too far away. And here's something we've been bragging about a lot the last year. Princeton Review, and then I saw another publication as well that had ranked us one of the top 20 most beautiful campuses in America. And we're the only ones ranked on the West Coast, which is, I know there's some amazing campuses in the West Coast, so that's big time there. And that's, you know, kind of from the outsider's perspective, looking at us, like we're known for our high academics, our beautiful campus. That's the kind of things that really stand out, you know, outside of basketball. Here's a typical dorm. One thing that's kind of interesting for us is that every student has to live on campus for 2 years. And we do have like a Greek life here, and the campus owns 65 different houses. So there's lots of different options. But that really builds the culture in the community. So we're about 2,400 students. Again, everybody, you know, our freshmen live in dorms, and then pretty much every year we have a basketball house. All our basketball guys stay in a house with sophomores. So that culture, that community, like, you know, it's really ingrained here. This slide, I'm not going to go into every little detail here, but the thing I want to point out here is that our student to faculty ratio is 11-1.
Wow.
And 90% of our faculty have their PhDs and they're at the top of their game. And so they have, you know, very small class sizes. So you get to learn better in that environment. But the biggest advantage is that those faculty, those professors are your key to those internships and those future careers. And we look to really take advantage of that. And we also like to brag that we actually have more Washington State Professor of the Year award winners than any other school in the state, which is incredible considering that, you know, UW and Wazoo are 20, 30,000 students and a lot more faculty. So our faculty really are, you know, the best of the best. And that's what makes this place go. Some more bragging points here I wanted to put out to everybody watching. Top 10 liberal arts university. We're top 20 most entrepreneurial colleges. Our business program is incredibly strong, and that's actually our most popular major. And it's Forbes ranked us top 20 because we have so many students here that start their own businesses while they're students. We also are unique that we have a graduate program in physical therapy and occupational therapy, which is very rare for a small liberal arts university. And so you could get your doctorate in physical therapy here, and a lot of undergrads, exercise science is a big one. And, you know, again, big programs in communications, political science, and psychology. Science is really strong as well. We have a ton of students go to med school after, and here's a big one. We're named a best value school, you know, because we are a little expensive. I'll talk more about that later, but you get what you pay for here. And going along with that, in our conference, we are the top for salary potential. So we have a high percentage. I think it's 90% of students are getting jobs or continuing education within 6 months of graduation. So yeah, it's a couple things we're bragging about. This is our field house, something else, you know, our facilities are, you know, second to none for our level. It's absolutely beautiful. It's got an old school feel. The upper level bleachers haven't changed since the 1950s. And we get great crowd support. It is the biggest venue in our conference. It can hold 4,000 or 5,000 people. So it's fun to play at. We got a new facilities for our fitness center, which is, I didn't include a picture on this one, but it's top notch. You won't see a better fitness center, even at some like D1 and D2 schools. So again, our campus and facilities are as good as they get for Division III for sure. Couple pictures of some games you see in our student section. We were very young this last year. I had 6 different freshmen that started at different points throughout the year. Couple sophomores here, and a picture of the sophomores here. Played big roles, big minutes. Didn't have one junior on the roster, and we had 5 seniors, but 2 of them played a lot. So yeah, we were definitely on the young end and we're going to be even younger next year with no seniors. A little bit of our history. We've been a little bit of everything over the years. We were D2 for a while and actually won a national title in '76. Then went NAIA in the 80s and 90s, and since 1999 we've been D3. And while I was here, we won 3 conference championships. And since 2012, we've been to our conference tournament 5 times, including in 2019. We've had 2 All-Americans and 5 All-Region players, and we have numerous graduates playing professionally right now. So long history. Mentioned our squad a little bit, very young. Our conference, this is fun. Our Northwest Conference, there's 4 teams in Washington and 5 in Oregon. We're one of 2 conferences in the West Coast. You guys are familiar with the SCIAC as well. It's the highest scoring conference in the country, and that's regardless of level. We actually scored 80 points a game the last 2 years, and that was 5th in the conference in scoring.
Damn.
Yeah. Now you got a couple teams like Whitman and Pacific that play the pressing and shooting threes, subbing guys every minute, so they're up in the hundreds. But pretty much every other team is in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So my whole deal is, we're going to play fast, and we're going to play positionless basketball. We're going to score, in bunches, but we're trying to be the team that gets some stops, trying to slow these high-powered offenses down for sure. And I've always been a man guy. But this last year, we actually found that our zone was a lot more effective. So we've been mixing up zone, and really, I'm the type of coach I want to win, so I'm going to do whatever it takes. When we're thinking about recruits, definitely looking at character. That's always a big one. Passion for the game is a huge one for us, especially at the D3 level, where we can't coach you year round. I think I heard the D1 guys were practicing yesterday for the first time or something. And yeah, we don't get that opportunity until October. So we need guys that are self-motivated. They're get in the gym on their own. We'll give you all the workout plans. We've got the strength and conditioning coach that has that for you as well. And we'll have spring and summer leagues our guys get to play in and coach themselves. But you have to be dedicated. You have to be willing to get shots up. The other things, we're really looking for versatility. Again, our league is a very high scoring conference, and if you can't shoot, you're in trouble here. So we need shooters, but we also need guys that can put the ball on the floor and be playmakers. And then, like every coach wants, is toughness. I did want to talk a little bit about our core values here. So again, like to sum it up, like you're going to get a top education here. You're going to have the best campus and facilities around. And you're going to have an opportunity to pursue a national championship. But you will be transformed as a human being. That's the most important thing we're going to promise here. And we don't want to be a transactional program. This is all about transforming lives here. And we believe that real men, your success is measured by your ability to form lasting relationships. And so we model that with the relationships we create with our guys. And then we want to help them live a life of purpose. Forget jobs and careers. Like, what is it you really want to be, and what do you want to stand for, and following your passions and that kind of thing. So that's what it's all about, living a life of purpose there. Our theme for this year, and this is a very appropriate theme for what we're going through, is EAT. It's excellence, accountability, and toughness. And we defined excellence as doing your absolute best, no matter what's happening, no matter what the obstacle is. We've got a lot of obstacles in front of us right now. And then accountability, there's the levels of that is 1, yourself, 2nd, your teammates, and then 3rd, it gets the coaching staff. And then toughness kind of goes with the excellence, that you're going to get it done no matter what. And so that's where we're at right now for this year. And then a theme we've had, my coaching staff and I, we've had since our last couple of years at Lincoln, was energy and enthusiasm. Everything we do, especially when we get on the court, we're bringing life, we're bringing passion. You're going to have fun. It's going to be exciting. And that's how we, thrive, especially on defense. But if you ever see any of our games and any of our guys on the bench, you will definitely see that energy and enthusiasm. So I did want to talk about cost of attendance a little bit here. We are the small liberal arts university. We're going to get that high quality education. So it is expensive. But that sticker price you see, nobody pays that. Everybody that gets in is going to get a merit scholarship. And that's the range you see there, though of course there are some students that get the full ride for outstanding academics. And then we will also have need-based scholarships as well. So you kind of see most students are paying somewhere in the 30s after everything's said and done. But on our squad, we've got guys that are paying almost nothing, and then guys that are paying in the 40s. So there's a wide range there. And a lot of that, again, has to do with your academics, and then, your financial need and any other outside scholarships you can get. So, for us, like, you can get into our university. It might be hard, but you can get in with a 3.0, but you're not going to get as much academic money. So that's where it's like, when we look at guys with 3.0, it's like, all right, that just means they're going to have to pay a lot more. So the higher that GPA, the better you're going to do. And last year, they actually, anybody with a 3.6 unweighted GPA and 3.6 or better was going to get a minimum of $23,000, which is basically half of tuition. So that's 50% off the top right there. I did have a little drone video of campus, about 2 minutes.
Nice.
Okay with that?
Love it.
Kind of get an idea here.
You guys are high tech.
Our SID guy put this together. Let's see if it works. So this was a little thank you to all the seniors that graduated this year. And we'll point out, that residential neighborhood, you see a lot of green, a lot of trees. We get guys that come from Southern California, Texas, Arizona. Like, that's one thing stands out, is there's going to be green. And as you can see, the water is about a 3-minute drive from campus, the Puget Sound itself. And there's a huge touristy area down there. That's where everybody's at on the weekends. It's a lot of fun, a lot of shops and restaurants, and good places to hang out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Super nice.
All right. So that was my presentation.
That was awesome.
Let's get to the questions, huh?
I mean, Coach, you were quite a player at Puget Sound too. Can you talk about your experience as a player and then coming back as a coach?
Yeah. It was crazy. So again, I won state as a senior at Lincoln, and I was like the third best player on the team, and a couple of guys that were D1. And I was a 6'6" post player. So I had dreams of being a D1 player, but I wasn't athletic or tall enough. And so when I got to Puget Sound, I got a lot more opportunity because I didn't have the D1 guys ahead of me. And I ended up scoring 20 points a game as a freshman. Now, we weren't very good. We were about 500. So I didn't like it. I wasn't used to it. So, but then, as Coach Bridgeland does, he recruits very well. And so by my junior, senior year, I wasn't scoring as many points, but still, we were winning games, and we won, school record amount for win percentage and all that stuff, and ranked in the top 5. So it was fun. I'd much rather, be the guy that scores 11, 12 points a game and win a bunch versus the guy that scores 20 and lose. So yeah, it was really special to be a part of the turnaround though, because Puget Sound had, we have this great history, but we hadn't been good. We just been about 500, just mediocre there for a while, and then to see, be a part of that change. And that's what I'm trying to bring back here.
And you went back to Lincoln High School and had a big success there. How was the transition going from a high school head coach to a college head coach and getting used to the recruiting process?
Yeah, it is different. It's different. Honestly, the recruiting wasn't that difficult. The school kind of sells itself. And again, I think being someone that went here, I can really speak to the value of the education and the experience. But that was fun. I really enjoyed the recruiting because, hey, I get to pick my team, for the first time and go out and get to meet these guys and their families. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I think as far as like basketball, as the X's and O's and coaching wise, the biggest thing I noticed right away is that at our level, even more so than Division II and Division I, is there are so many shooters. And so some of the concepts we had defensively, the rotations we had in high school, just weren't going to work anymore at this level. Because you'd have 4 or 5 guys out there that can just flat out shoot the three. So that you got to adjust. But yeah, so it's been great. And I will say, we were young again last year. Ended up 12-13 overall, which isn't great. But we played a lot of close games, and 3 games we lost at the buzzer were the teams that made the national tournament. So we are very confident going forward that, if we have a season this year, knock on wood, right? This will be a really good year for us. And actually the next few years, because again, we don't have any seniors this year, so we're going to be young again.
I mean, you guys really pound the West Coast when it comes to recruitment. I mean, you have Carson Carey, who literally is, his high school's a mile from my house, and you have a stud coming from San Diego. Where do you guys find your players? Is it camps, high school games? In a normal year, obviously.
Right. Being a high school coach here in Washington for 12 years, like I feel like I have really good relationships with a lot of the high school coaches here, and I know the programs, know the AU programs. So Washington's always going to be, our first priority, and we know kids here and we can see them, right down the street. But then Southern California has been really good for us. And just going down to your guys' events, your tournaments and the high academic camps have been really good. And there's so many players down there. It's it's ridiculous. So Southern California, and then a lot of those students want to move to Washington for college. It's kind of the opposite up here. A lot of our high school kids want to go to California, but a lot of the Cali kids want to get out, So, so that I would say almost half of our roster is, California, and most of those are from SoCal. And then the other 40-50% is Washington, Oregon, and we got 1 kid from Kentucky.
Oh, I saw that from it's Jalisco too. Is he originally from Mexico?
By way of Mexico.
I was wondering that, and I don't know if I should have asked that, but also, like, a kid who's not from the West Coast, how do they get on your radar?
Yeah, we've tried, and we've recruited kids from Colorado and Arizona and Texas, and right now I'm talking to a kid from Pennsylvania. So, definitely, and a lot of that, again, we want to see everybody play live, right? That's ideal. But if not, we'll definitely take tapes, film, highlights, and all that. And so this year, it's super difficult for guys we haven't seen, because right now we're actually been told we can't even leave the Northwest to recruit in person, and because of the whole COVID concerns and everything. So that's been difficult, and there's nothing around here to watch anyway. So if you're from somewhere else, email, call, get a hold of us. We'll check out your film and tape, and I try to respond to every single personal email I get from a recruit, whether it's, hey, not this year, we don't have a spot, or we're really interested, and let's set up a phone call. We don't discriminate. We'll take players from anywhere.
I love it. That's awesome.
Coach, we started off the talk by talking a little bit about your at-home office space over here.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you got going on behind you. It looks like you got some trophies, or a lot of framed tournament stuff. Pick maybe one of your favorite things that you have at your at-home office there.
All right, so right here, our Northwest Conference Championship, my junior senior year, the pieces of the net. You need to cut down the net when you win the conference championship. So again, my wife, she frames it, she puts it up.
And it's all decked out, and there you got all kinds of stuff.
Love it.
Yeah, and actually up above, the UPS blanket, every senior that graduates has played 4 years here gets a blanket. So again, my wife had it framed. And good.
I was noticing on the little video that you showed us with all of the seniors.
Yeah.
I see that one of your basketball players is also on the football team.
Yeah, actually, two of them were.
Wow.
Yeah, we are a level, and especially at this university, we will take multi-sport athletes for sure. And if you play football, you generally would miss the first month of the basketball season, which last year they didn't miss any games, but this year they missed like two. So they mostly just missed all the preseason practices. But yeah, our football guys were, they were both top 8 in our rotation, but they were, without question, better football players. They were both all conference guys, first team all conference football players, and one was a 2-time All-American. He broke a bunch of school records, and they're both wide receivers. So, I was really happy to have them both, and they bring the toughness and that hard work. If there's guys on this call listening that play multiple sports, baseball, track, whatever it might be, we're definitely open to that.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's tough for a lot of kids to have to decide, especially if they are really talented in multiple areas. So it's great to see that you can go on to the next level and have success in both. We got just a couple more minutes here, Coach. I did want to ask you, we talk a lot about the great school that you guys have, the great basketball program. What are some of the things that your guys do after they graduate, whether that's continue their playing career, getting jobs locally, or going in different parts of the country?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the first things I want to do when I came back was set up, alumni weekend. And so we call it Logger Legacy. And so every year so far, we've been able to bring back a bunch of alumni, playing a little alumni game and all that. But the main thing is to have them meet the players, introduce themselves, and make those connections. And so, for example, like last year, one of our graduating seniors, at our Logger Legacy event, here's a job offer. You show up to the interview tomorrow, you're going to get this job, and within a year, you're going to make 6 figures. So there's a lot of opportunities just within our alumni, our basketball alumni. But yeah, what are guys doing? We had a pre-med senior this year who's going to, the plan was, at least before COVID, he was going to go to Jordan and work with Syrian refugees, helping them out with their medical needs before he went to medical school. So, totally got the service part, down there. We've had other guys go right into business. One of the football players, who's a basketball player as well, he's going to Columbia for his engineering degree. He turned down some high-paying jobs at Amazon and said, I want to, take it a step further and get my master's in engineering. And then we have another student who's going to get a sports management degree at Seattle U. So some are going to law school or grad school. And then, we had a couple guys that are trying out for different professional teams. And again, it's been rough because some of the tryouts have been canceled now. So we're still working on that. But yeah, we have a wide mix. And I often tell recruits, it doesn't really matter what you major in here. You're going to get a great education. My brother actually went here after my younger brother. And he majored in music and Spanish, and he ended up becoming a police officer. And he was just locally here, the Puyallup Police Officer of the Year. So, and then we've had guys that majored in business and they end up being dentist. So there's definitely, or you have a guy that majors in history and becomes a college basketball coach. So
yeah, exactly. There you go.
Coach, I majored in finance. I'm a basketball coach too, so I feel that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about all the companies that are in Washington? It's something I didn't know until I started going up there. The Nordstroms and etc. that are up there, all the the job opportunities that are available in that state.
Yeah, absolutely. The big ones right now are Microsoft and Amazon. They're right here in Seattle, and they have a lot of job opportunities, and so computer science is a big, major here, and there's a lot of internships available. And then again, with and Boeing is here as well, and like you said, Nordstrom, and but with all that job and that growth, Seattle Tacoma area is one of the fastest growing places in the country. there's going to be a lot of other room for other business too. So, whether we've had guys like, while they're here, get into real estate. A couple guys I played with, owned multiple houses, 3 or 4 years after they graduated, and big time real estate guys now. And that hasn't stopped. When you're in a hot housing market like we are, like pretty much any job you can think of is going to be available.
It's incredible. Every year I go there, the housing market's booming. There's like, last year I was like, Expedia has a whole complex down there. It's incredible how much it's growing in that area and the job opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coach, we had Matt Airy on previously, and he was letting us know that you're being too modest. You're the best coach player in your conference right now. Do you still hoop? Do you still go up and down with your guys at all? Do you give them a body in practice, or have you hung it up and retired to coaching?
I have not hung it up yet. I'm still trying. Normally, so I come from a big family. I have 4 brothers and a sister. And every year we'd play in Spokane Hoop Fest, which is the largest 3-on-3 tournament in the world. And so unfortunately it got canceled this year, but that's kind of my big thing every year is I get to play in Hoop Fest. And we play in the elite division, so it's like ex-pros and, D1 guys and everything. And we hold our own for sure. So that's my motivation every year is to get ready for Hoop Fest. But yeah, I still play with our guys. I don't run up and down with them. We'll play, one-on-one in the post, or go, one shot, one dribble from the top of the key or something. And then I try to, scrimmage or play all our guys, but I'll pick our best guy and see if I can beat him at least once a year just to keep him humble.
Well, between that and the Hoop Fest, it doesn't look like you have much more room for any trophies up there behind you, but maybe you can get some 3-on-3 trophies up there. With the last minute or so here, Coach, before we close things out for the evening, is there anything else you wanted to touch on or bring up from your end?
I know there's a lot of concern right now with, seasons and everything. That's a major topic. We just got some information today about what they're doing with fall sports here. But I'm still hopeful. I'm hopeful the vaccine will come out soon. And I'm, even if we have to start our season in January or February, and I'm very hopeful we'll have a season. And like you guys mentioned, California starting in March. So the message to the players I talked to is like, hey, anything's better than nothing. So as long as we can get a season in this year, that'll be a lot of fun, and especially for those seniors, we want to send them out right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a challenging time, but in a normal season, I know we'd be looking forward to seeing you in the gym, and hopefully whenever that time comes when we are able to get back to the season and recruiting and everything, we'd love to see you again soon. So in the meantime, please stay safe. Go easy on your players next time you got them one-on-one. But we really appreciate you joining us tonight and chatting with us, and please stay safe and hope all is well. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk soon.
All right. Appreciate it. Be well, guys.
Thank you.
Log her up.
See you, Coach.